In fact, it's being marketed in Georgia as life-saving technology. So why do some experts say it's potentially deadly? CBS 46's Kim Fedek investigates.
It's used in key cards, prepaid tolls, even checked luggage. It's called RFID technology, or radio frequency identification. Small chips that store information.
So here's the chip.
And now that same technology is literally available in the flesh, with chips injected right into people's arms.
It says it burns a little bit. That's about it.
Atlanta firefighter John Santola was injected with the chip about the size of a grain of rice. When scanned, the number on the chip is linked to a database with Santola's medical history.
I had to go help me in case of emergency.
Santola was chipped when Florida-based VeriChip Corporation set up a booth at an Atlanta firefighter conference. They market the chip primarily for safety reasons, storing medical information for first responders, Alzheimer's patients, even children.
It is the only product that has been approved by the FDA for this specific purpose.
The FDA approved the use of chips in humans in 2004, but since then it's caused quite a bit of controversy with some consumer groups, concerned about privacy, even health concerns.
These are very powerful tools, especially if they fall in the hands of somebody with political ambitions.
One of the loudest voices of opposition is right here in the Boston area, a Harvard doctor and author of spy chips.
These technologies will not make us safer. I think they'll make us sitting ducks for Big Brother.
Dr. Catherine Albrecht also compiled 16 years of studies she says prove the chip can cause cancerous tumors.
It's clear as day that these tumors were not only malignant, but they metastasize, they spread to the lungs, the liver, the thymus, the brain.
These pictures show the tumors growing around the actual chip in the mice and rats.
Certainly the company, I mean, they've done, I think, a tremendous job of keeping that information under wraps for the last several years.
We sat down with the chief medical officer of VeriChip and asked about the link to cancer in mice.
Yeah, I am not aware. I mean, I would have to take a look at what's out there right now. I'm not aware of any issues at this point.
Shalom. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Racha, Kodash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, because those are the men who I learned this truth from through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai. Yahweh is the true name of the God of Israel. Yahushai is who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, but his one and only true name is Yahushai. And pretty much since 2004, you know, the microchip implant, which is the MOTB, according to the Bible, has been FDA approved since 2004. All right, and they could usher this in through a major pestilence, which a pestilence is a disease outbreak. So they can use the C-19. All right, they can use the MP, the monkeypox. They can use any disease outbreak. All right, any type of plague, you know, that's going on, that they issue a plague worldwide, and they can make this mandatory for medical purposes. And this is what you need to understand. This is why this video is important. All right, because the chip, it's already approved already. Now, the same way how you see the jab stations, you know, the same way how they made mandatory through your jobs and to go into buildings, whether it be for, you know, leisure purposes or business purposes, going to a restaurant, you know, on your downtime, you needed to show proof at one point that you've been jabbed, and you had to show your certificate, you know, your little paper. All right. Well, that's the same way how they're going to do it with this chip. And that's how they can do it with this chip for medical purposes. See, what you need to understand is the disease outbreak that's going on, you know, the C-19 and the MP, that's an excuse to track what's underneath your skin. All right. And you got these different transhumanists, these different businessmen that are in the World Economic Forum, you know, Klaus Schwab and different other men. All right. They telling you that this is why you have this disease outbreak going on, so that they can use that as an excuse to track what's underneath your skin. So they can make this MOTB mandatory for medical purposes. All right. And they can do that real quick. They can actually do that right now if they wanted to. They could have did it in 2019. They could have did it in 2020, 2021. They could do it right now. All right. All they got to do is just declare this as a global problem, which that's what they've been doing with the C-19 and now the MP. And they can use this, you know, as an excuse to make this MOTB mandatory. All right. So this is very important to know that the microchip implant has been FDA approved since 2004. All right. So now let's get into the scriptures, because they was making a lot of points on how, you know, rats that had like the chips inside of them, how they was growing tumors and stuff like that. Well, that's in the scriptures. All right. That's what's going to be happening to people, because you're not supposed to have, you know, no type of implants anyway, according to the Levitical law. All right. But when you implant that type of technology inside of your skin, all right, it has a negative reaction. It causes tumors. And the scriptures go into that. Here's the proof. Revelation 16:2. And the first went out and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore. All right. Now, let me go into this word grievous real quick. I just want to see what it says. All right, bear with me. My signal's a little slow. All right, I'm going to let the word play.
Strong's G 4190. Paneiras. Paneiras.
Yep. So it says, in the physical sense, diseased or blind. All right. And that's what you need to understand. If you implant this chip inside of you, all right, you're going to have side effects the same way with the jab. All right. You're going to have tumors growing inside of you. And the ones of you that do get this MOTB, Lord willing, it's not me, all right, or any brothers that's still fighting a good fight of faith right now, you know, the ones of you that get this chip, you're going to have a grievous sore on you. All right. And let me go into this word sore. I think that's the word that I originally wanted.
Strong's G 1668. Helkas. Helkas.
All right, Helkas, right? It says a wound. Yeah, this is the word that I originally wanted. It says a wound. So the ones of you that get this chip, you're going to have a wound, all right? Whether you get it in your left hand or your right hand, you're still receiving a chip. You have to get the judgment written, because, you know, there's videos out, oh, what if they force you to get the chip? Nobody's not going to force you to do nothing. If you don't comply with the New World Order, excuse me, if you don't comply with the New World Order, you're going to be put to death, all right? You're going to be beheaded, as the scriptures say in Revelation 20:4, all right? So it says, so the ones that get this MOTB, they're going to willingly take it, because you're going to have a choice. Will you bow down to the New World Order agenda, or will you be an outcast of society, all right, and possibly be a martyr? So it says a wound, especially a wound producing a discharge, pus. All right. So this is the grievous sore that it's talking about. It's talking about, in the physical sense, a wound. All right. A wound producing discharge and pus. All right. And that's why those rats that got the chips implanted inside of them, that's why they started developing tumors. The same thing is going to be happening to you people. See, there's always a con worshiping the devil. All right. There's always a con with the so-called white man. You're going to have your pros, but then you always have the deadly cons concerning these devils. All right. The Edomites, the so-called white man in their seed. So the ones of you that's stupid enough to get this chip, this is what's going to happen to you. You're going to develop a wound that's going to produce discharge and pus. All right. It's cancerous. It's going to kill you. It says a sore. All right. Let's go up here. What else it says? Yep. So it's literally talking about an actual sore, because remember, the procedure of the RFID chip implant, and then, you know, the syringe, it punctures your skin, making it an imprintable mark, which links up with the word charagma, which is the Greek word for the word, you know, M-A-R-K, mark, right? And once that procedure is done, you're going to have a wound, a physical wound. And this is also proof that the MOTB, the RFID chip implant, it's physical. It's not spiritual. All right, because something that's physical is going to produce a wound, like the definition says. Because you got people out here teaching false doctrine, you know. So continuing on, it says, and did feel a noisome and grievous sore upon the men. All right, which also includes you, women, because this is going to be a global event. The hour of temptation is going to come upon all the world, the whole inhabited planet Earth, as the scriptures say. It says, upon the men which had the charagma, right, the M-A-R-K, of the beast, and upon them which worship his image, which his image is what? The New World Order agenda, all right, the cashless digital society. And what you need to understand is you're not going to be able to buy or sell because the one world currency that all these countries is going to agree upon through the command of the central bankers, which happen to be the Rothschilds, all right, and the other banking families underneath them, they're going to make this mandatory. The one world currency is going to be on the chip. That's why you're not going to be able to buy or sell. All right, this is going to be the new way to identify yourself. So matter of fact, just to show you the proof, right? Let's go into this word M-A-R-K, right? And this is the same word used in Revelation 13 to 16 and all throughout the books of Revelation, right? All right, so the word there is charagma, and let's see what it says. It says an imprinted mark. Now, something that's imprinted, it's an incision. It goes underneath your skin. It's a subdermal implant. Because remember, the MOTB is physical. It's the microchip implant, right? So you go into the root word of charagma. The word there is charax. And that's going to say a pale steak or palicide. Referring to what? The syringe that's used to inject the microchip implant inside of you. It's an implant. It's an imprinted mark. This is what John the Revelator seen in his vision on the island of Patmos. And he had to describe it according to the vocabulary he had at his time. In order for you to get that full understanding, you got to go into the Strong's lexicon. You have to go into the true meaning of the words that's mentioned in the scriptures. All right, we read it in the English, but when you go into the Greek or sometimes, you know, the Hebrew or the Latin, you know, you get the proper understanding. All right. So finally, when you go into the root word of charax, the word there is going to be grapho. Let me let that load up. Connection is real slow today. All right. Let this load up. All right, finally it loaded up. Shalaki. All right. So the word there is grapho, and that pretty much means to store information on a specific type of material. In other words, the different ways to identify yourself, the one world currency, all right, all of your medical records, the different, you know, ways to identify yourself, buying and selling, everything you could possibly think of that you would use in society is going to be on this chip, all right? It's going to be on the chip as data. Because that's what grapho means, to store information on a specific type of material. How do you store information on a device? Through data, all right? You download the data onto the chip. So now, let's go back. So it says, which had the M-A-R-K of the beast, and upon them which worship his image. All right, his image is what? His New World Order. And as you can see in society, everything is becoming cashless. It's becoming a cashless digital society, which benefits the elite banking families and the government that's ran by Esau Edom. All right, so that they can track your whereabouts, so they can know everything about you. You can no longer have privacy. You can't have any secrets. You can't do anything under the table that's not taxable. So this is what's going on. So now let me read this. This is Isaiah chapter 46 and verse 10. It says, declaring the end from the beginning. How did the Most High declare the end from the beginning? Through the mouth of the prophets. All right. The Most High, he always had prophets on the planet Earth, from the Garden of Eden all the way up until right now. Babylon the Great, which is America. All right? So that's how the Most High declared the end from the beginning, through the prophets, through the different men of the Lord. So it says declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient times, meaning in the past, right? Because you have prophets, they receive different visions of the end and of the future. And those things didn't necessarily happen during their time. It's going to happen in this time. All right? It says the things that are not yet done. What's not yet done? The prophecies in the form of current events. It says, saying, my counsel, meaning the prophecies, shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. So whether you people believe it or not, all right, prophecy is going to come to pass. Whether you believe that the MOTB is the microchip implant or not, it will come to pass in this lifetime, in this specific generation, Lord willing. All right? So now, I'm going to end it off with this. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 11. It says, lest Satan, and this word for Satan is Satanas, and it's talking about a Satan-like man. All right? And who is Satan's physical counterpart on the planet Earth? The so-called white man. All right? The nation who worships Satan, the Edomites. The so-called white man and his seed line are the true descendants of Esau, Edom. All right? And they are prophesied to be ruling in these last days, 2 Ezra 6 and 9. And the ones that's going to rule after them is who? Yahushua and the elect and the whole nation of Israel, beginning with the elect and Yahushua, right? So it says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us. So Satan's physical counterpart is who? The wicked, which is the so-called white man, all right? Who is known as the border wickedness, Malachi 1 and 4. It says, should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. And when you go into this word devices, right?
Strong's G 3540, Naima.
And it says what? A mental perception, thought, an evil purpose, that which thinks the mind, thoughts, or purposes, which links up with what? The word conspiracy. The word conspiracy, it just means a plotting of evil, unlawful design, a combination of persons for an evil purpose. All right, so it links up with this definition. So what's the evil purpose that they propose? The New World Order agenda, which the end game of that is to implant you with a microchip implant. All right, this is one of the biggest conspiracies or the biggest plotting of evils that the elite banking families have. And this is what they discuss at the World Economic Forum. How can we further our agenda to deceive people into thinking that this is a thing of convenience? All right. So I'm going to read it again. 2 Corinthians 2 and 11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. So we're not ignorant to their agendas. You know, agenda 2021 to 2030, you know, pushing their different agendas as a form of convenience, you know. So we understand according to the scriptures. So Lord willing, you was edified. Shalom.